And now the excitement begins here on set. We have David Asman, Fox Business anchor, and Monica Crowley, former Assistant Treasury Secretary and host of the Monica Crowley podcast. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
All right, I want to start. Let's talk about these debates last night. I don't think it was a good night for Democrats. Let me start. I'm interested in the Senate race particularly. Let's go to Pennsylvania. We have some sound, Fetterman versus Oz. Take a listen to some sound about Mr. Fetterman's problems.
I've always supported fracking, and I always believe that independence with our energy is critical, and we can't be held, ransom to somebody like Russia.
Fracking, yeah, fracking. No, I don't support fracking at all, and I never have.
All right, that might not be the only problem he had, Monica Crowley, but that was a big problem. His credibility problem on fracking. Pennsylvania is a big pro-fracking state, as you know. I wish New York was, too. What do you make of the PA debate?
Well, look, I think John Fetterman, who obviously had a stroke a couple of months ago, is in very poor physical and mental shape. He is clearly not capable of carrying out the job of United States Senator. I hope he gets the care he needs, but actually he belongs in a rehab facility and not in the U.S. Senate. But that aside, I mean, if you take a look at his previous positions, the man is a radical progressive. He is anti-law enforcement, he is pro-criminal, and on the economic agenda, he is 100% with the radicals in terms of wanting to re-engineer the entire U.S. economy into a more socialist model. On fracking, huge issue in Pennsylvania. He has been opposed to it for a very long time. Then a couple of weeks ago, he puts out a tweet that says, I support fracking, because he clearly saw the polls. And when he was asked about it last night, again, he was deer in the headlights for a whole range of reasons. But that particular moment of dead silence where he didn't know how to answer or he was incapable of answering, that was the moment that ended his campaign.
And Oz handled himself well. I did not see the debate. I was watching the Zeldin debate, but I am reading and told that Oz handled himself with class and dignity as a doctor.
And smarts. I mean, he clearly dominated last night.
David Asman.
By the way, he was kind as well. He has a tendency sometimes to have kind of sharp edges. He was kind. He was clear about what Fetterman's problems were, but he was kind about addressing his issues.
All right, let's go to the Zeldin-Hochul debate. We've got some sound from Lee Zeldin. Let's start playing whatever we got to play so we can get some feedback on it.
What New Yorkers want to know is what specific measures are you pledging to deal with the pay-to-play corruption that is plaguing you and your administration?
There's no pay-to-play corruption, and the policies are we don't do it anyhow, so why would I change? We're going to make sure we have internal controls. We have them now. They've been in place.
So, David Asman, I want to go to you first because I watched that debate very, very carefully. Lee Zeldin is a good friend of all of us. I was interested, first of all, Governor Hochul doesn't know why it's important to put criminals in jail,
That's
point number one. But she never had an answer for the corruption charges.
Right.
She never did. It's not as though she couldn't have seen him coming. I thought those were Lee Zeldin's strongest points. The pay-to-play, non-compete contracts for her donors, including the crazy Buffalo Bills idea. What you think about this?
Well, it was probably the first time a lot of New Yorkers had heard about this because a lot of her voters just read the New York Times over the New York Post, which has been doing incredible reporting. For those who don't know, there was a no-bid $637 million contract for all these COVID testing centers, and it benefited this donor of hers who donated $300,000 to her campaign, and it was clearly a case of pay for play in his part. He paid twice as much for these tests as they do in California. You know, they pay top price in California, so it was a very corrupt thing. He brought it up. Maybe he didn't spell it out correctly. The one thing I have to say about that debate, it's kind of the Nixon-JFK debates in 1960. You have to go way back. When you just read the transcripts of it, everybody realized that Nixon won those debates, but he lost because he didn't look as smooth as John F. Kennedy did. I think there was a little bit of that last night. She is a very smooth talker because she's been through this a million times. Lee Zeldin didn't have as much experience. He looked a little nervous.
But he won on points.
But he won on the issues. And crime
By the way,
is the major
can I just
issue.
say, JFK was the growth candidate in that election. election.
That's true.
I just want to say that.
That's a good point.
That is apropos of nothing we're here to discuss.
Hey, you're talking about my former boss.
JFK, I know,
President
and
Nixon.
that's always a problem.
Nixon did.
Kennedy was the tax cutter. Nixon was not. Do we have a clip, though, of Hochul, who was surprised that Lee Zeldin wants to throw criminals in jail? Do we have some sound on that? Here it comes. Take a listen.
Anyone who commits a crime under our laws, especially with the change they made to bail, has consequences. I don't know why that's so important to you. All I know is that we could do more.
That is a big problem, Monica Crowley.
Yes,
that is a big problem for
her.
If
she loses this election, that will be the line that will have torpedoed her. I don't understand why it's so important to you and other New Yorkers that we lock up violent criminals. Why is that so important? I mean, that kind of line, I think she regretted it the minute it came out of her mouth. But crime is the driving issue here in New York State. It is the #1 paramount issue. And as Lee Zeldin alluded to, all of these other issues on the economy and other issues are extremely important, but they don't matter if you're dead. If you've been mugged and killed on the subway, thrown in front of the tracks, nothing else matters.
Devastating, by the way. I'm going to give the questioner. I don't watch New York One. It's a very liberal station. But the guy who was the anchor for New York One, yes, Mr. Lewis, he's the one who said crime in subways has gone up 57%, and she had no response to that at all.
She had no response.
She just looked like a deer in the headlights.
Obviously, crime in Manhattan and the 5 boroughs of New York City, very, very important and catastrophic. But also, the crime now has extended to all communities across New York State and across the country.
And it's because of a state law that is no bail law that Illinois, by the way, now has in an incredibly insane move that they just made. But the bottom line is that she's responsible for that law.
Well, she is, and she could have done something about it. And she could fire Alvin Bragg, which is what Lee Zeldin's going to do. Lightning round. David Asman, Pennsylvania, R or D?
Oh, I think R.
Georgia,
particularly after the debate.
No comments. R or D? Georgia?
I still think it's a toss-up, but it's moving towards R. I think by the election it'll be an R.
Nevada?
I think an R.
Monica?
R.
Pennsylvania?
R straight across the board, including in Arizona with Blake Masters.
Yeah, you know what? I think the lady is right. I don't know. I got to go with her. David Asman and Monica Crowley. That was pretty powerful filled stuff.